In this fascinating video, we'll tell you about 10 common mistakes many people make when using tomatoes. This nutritious vegetable is known for its many health benefits, but improper preparation and storage can significantly reduce its health benefits. We're sure you're making at least 5 of these mistakes, and if you correct them, you can maximize all the valuable qualities of this amazing vegetable. Watch until the very end. The final reveal will amaze you. This video will be extremely informative and helpful. So, if you want to become a master of your health, click like, and let's get started. Mistake 1. Storing tomatoes in the refrigerator. One of the most common blunders when handling tomatoes is storing them in the refrigerator. While the refrigerator helps keep produce fresh, it is not the best friend for tomatoes. Cold temperatures slow the ripening process and cause them to lose texture and flavor. Studies show that at temperatures below 10 degrees C, tomatoes begin to lose some of their flavor compounds and textural characteristics. An article published in the journal Post-Harvest Biology and Technology claims that storing tomatoes at 4 degrees C can significantly reduce the volatile compounds responsible for their bright flavor. Tomatoes are a tropical fruit and require heat for optimal ripening. When stored at room temperature, tomatoes not only continue the ripening process, but also retain their natural sweetness and flavors. Place them in a cool, dark place where the temperature ranges from 12 to 22 degrees C to keep them at the peak of their flavor and nutritional value. Also, storing tomatoes away from sunlight prevents them from unnecessarily softening and darkening. So, to enjoy the best flavor and texture, store tomatoes at room temperature and avoid the refrigerator. This simple storage adjustment will help you get the most out of each fruit and enjoy their natural flavors. By the way, tomatoes are an interesting example of how scientific classification can differ from culinary perception. Botanically speaking, tomatoes are fruits because they develop from the flower of a plant and contain seeds. More specifically, tomatoes are classified as berries because they are formed from a single flower with one or more ovaries, and their pulp is surrounded by a thin skin. From a culinary perspective, tomatoes are most often considered a vegetable. This is due to their use in unsweetened dishes, such as salads, sauces, and stews. In culinary terms, vegetables are foods that are not typically eaten raw for dessert and do not have a sweet flavor. Interestingly, even from a legal standpoint, tomatoes have been recognized as vegetables in the United States. In 1893, the U.S. Supreme Court, in the case of Nix versus Hedden, ruled that tomatoes should be subject to customs duties as vegetables because they are more commonly used in main dishes rather than desserts like fruits. Thus, tomatoes are a fruit in botanical terms, but a vegetable in culinary practice. Mistake 2. Buying unripe tomatoes. We are often tempted to buy unripe tomatoes, believing that they store longer and are less likely to spoil. However, this approach can cost you not only your time, but also your eating pleasure. Unripe tomatoes, like undiscovered works of art, hide beneath their greenish skins the full potential for flavor and aroma that is only revealed at full maturity. Studies show that ripe tomatoes contain twice as many antioxidants, such as lycopene and beta-carotene, which are responsible for their vibrant color and rich flavor. A paper published in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry indicates that levels of lycopene, a powerful antioxidant that gives tomatoes their deep red color and health benefits, increase significantly as the fruit ripens. Lycopene not only gives tomatoes their distinctive flavor, but also has positive health effects, supporting the cardiovascular system and protecting cells from damage. The study also found that unripe tomatoes contain fewer vitamins and minerals compared to their fully ripe counterparts. Therefore, when choosing tomatoes for your table, it is better to give preference to fruits that have already acquired a rich color and slightly soft texture. These signs indicate that tomatoes have reached the peak of their flavor and nutritional qualities. Remember that ripe tomatoes not only delight you with their flavor, but also offer maximum health benefits. Choosing such tomatoes, like finding a gem, will add value and pleasure to your cooking. Mistake 3. Cutting tomatoes too early. This common mistake may seem insignificant, but it can actually have a significant impact on your culinary results. By cutting tomatoes before they have reached full ripeness, you risk losing their delicious flavor and aroma, which is only formed during the final ripening process. Ripe tomatoes, like ripe fruit, reveal their sweetness and complex flavors that are unavailable to unripe fruit. Scientific research confirms that tomatoes that have been picked before they are fully ripe contain fewer volatile compounds responsible for their flavor. The study, published in the journal Plant Physiology, highlights that ripe tomatoes contain high levels of compounds, such as aldehydes and esters, which give the fruit its characteristic smell and flavor. These flavor compounds are formed and accumulate only when tomatoes reach full maturity on the plant. In addition, the ripening of tomatoes on the plant promotes the accumulation of antioxidants such as lycopene and vitamin C, which have positive health benefits. A paper published in the Journal of Food Science states that the levels of lycopene and other beneficial compounds in tomatoes increase significantly when the fruit is ripe on the bush. Lycopene, in particular, has powerful antioxidant properties that help protect cells from damage and reduce the risk of chronic diseases. So, to enjoy all the flavor and nutritional benefits of tomatoes, give them a chance to fully ripen before you cut them open. Like artfully created works of art, ripe tomatoes have great flavor, aroma, and health benefits that will add real pleasure to your meals and boost your health. Mistake 4. Using canned tomatoes without considering their acidity is a mistake that can affect not only the flavor of the dish, but also its safety. Tomatoes, especially those varieties that contain less acid, may not be acidic enough to be safely canned. This is important to consider as insufficient acidity can lead to the growth of bacteria such as Clostridium botulinum, which causes botulism, a rare but serious disease. To avoid this risk, it is recommended to add acid, such as lemon juice or vinegar, when canning tomatoes. Studies show that adding just 2 tablespoons of lemon juice per liter jar of tomatoes can increase their acidity to a safe level. The flavor of the dish also benefits from this, becoming brighter and richer, which is especially important in preparations intended for long-term storage. Canned tomatoes, with properly balanced acidity, retain their flavor and nutrients such as vitamin C and lycopene, a powerful antioxidant that research shows may reduce the risk of certain cancers. So don't neglect adding acidity during the canning process to ensure your preserves are not only tasty, but also safe for your health. Mistake 5. Cooking tomatoes on too high a heat is a common mistake that can not only ruin their flavor, but also deprive the dish of important nutrients. Tomatoes contain many nutrients such as vitamin C, potassium, and lycopene, a powerful antioxidant that research shows may reduce the risk of cardiovascular disease and some cancers. However, excessively high temperatures can destroy some of these valuable substances. When tomatoes are cooked over too high a heat, their skin and flesh can burn, and their flavors become less vibrant. For example, vitamin C, one of the most temperature-sensitive vitamins, begins to break down at temperatures above 60 degrees. Thus, overheating can reduce its content by 30–40%. Lycopene, on the other hand, is more resistant to heat and even becomes more available to the body when cooked. But too high temperatures can damage the texture of the tomatoes, which will impair the overall impression of the dish. The optimal solution is to cook tomatoes over medium heat. This preserves their juiciness, softness, and flavor while minimizing nutrient loss. Studies also show that cooking over medium heat promotes better lycopene release, which makes the dish not only tasty but also particularly healthy. Thus, proper temperature control is the key to cooking tomatoes that will not only delight you with flavor, but also maximize your health benefits. Mistake 6. Not washing tomatoes properly before consumption is a mistake that is often underestimated, but it can have serious health consequences. Tomatoes, like many other fruits and vegetables, can contain residues of pesticides, dirt, and even bacteria that can easily get on their surface during growing, picking, and transportation. If not washed properly, these contaminants can enter the body and cause a variety of illnesses ranging from food poisoning to more serious problems. Studies show that traces of over 230 different pesticides can remain on the surface of fresh fruits and vegetables, and tomatoes are no exception. Even if you buy organic produce, it can still be exposed to contaminants like dust or germs during transportation or on store shelves. Therefore, it's important not to just lightly rinse tomatoes with water, but to rinse them thoroughly under running water, paying special attention to the places where the stalk joins the fruit, where dirt can accumulate. Some experts recommend using a soft vegetable brush to remove the most stubborn dirt. This is especially important for immunocompromised people, children, and the elderly, as they are more at risk for infections. Studies show that rinsing tomatoes before consumption can reduce pesticide content by 80–90%, significantly reducing potential health risks. Thus, simply and effectively rinsing tomatoes before using them is not only hygienic but also a necessary step towards healthy eating. This will help keep your family healthy and enjoying all the benefits of this delicious and nutritious fruit. Mistake 7. Using only the fleshy part of tomatoes is a common mistake that robs dishes of important nutrients and flavor accents. The seeds and juice, which are often discarded, play a significant role in making dishes not only richer in flavor, but also healthier. Tomato seeds are rich in antioxidants such as lycopene and vitamin C. Lycopene, a powerful antioxidant, is associated with a reduced risk of cardiovascular disease and certain cancers. Researchers have found that lycopene is best absorbed in the presence of fat, so using the seeds and juice in sauces or salads dressed with olive oil may enhance their benefits. In addition, tomato juice, which often leaks out when sliced, contains soluble fiber and potassium. These elements play an important role in maintaining cardiovascular health and regulating blood pressure. One serving of tomatoes can contain up to 10% of the daily value of vitamin C, most of which is concentrated in the juice. It is also worth noting that it is the seeds and juice that give tomato dishes their characteristic juiciness and brightness. Adding these parts to soups, sauces, or casseroles not only increases their nutritional value, but also makes the texture of the dishes more tender and rich. Some chefs even purposely save tomato juice and seeds to add them to sauces and gravies to enhance flavor and aroma. So by throwing away the seeds and juice of tomatoes, we lose much of their nutritional value and unique flavor potential. Next time you prepare a dish with tomatoes, try to use them fully to maximize all the health benefits of this amazing fruit. Mistake 8. Not slicing tomatoes properly is a mistake that can greatly affect the appearance of the dish and its textural qualities. Improperly sliced tomatoes can turn into a shapeless mass, reducing their appeal and even their nutritional value. Tomatoes have a delicate structure consisting of thin skin, juicy flesh, and small seeds, so slicing them requires care and the right tools. Using a blunt knife not only complicates the cutting process, but also crushes the tomatoes, which releases excess juice and causes them to lose their density. As a result, they become too soft, which can spoil the texture of the dish. Using a sharp knife, such as a knife with a serrated blade, helps to preserve the shape and texture of the tomato, allowing you to cut it neatly without excessive pressure. This is especially important when tomatoes are used in salads, where their appearance and juiciness play a key role. Proper slicing also promotes a more even distribution of juice and seeds, which makes the dish rich and flavorful. Statistics confirm the importance of proper slicing in preserving nutrients. Studies show that up to 30% of vitamin C is lost in the slicing process if the knife is blunt and requires too much pressure. Therefore, using a sharp knife helps minimize these losses, keeping tomatoes not only beautiful but also healthy. Thus, awkward tomato slicing is more than just an aesthetic mistake. It can significantly affect the texture, flavor, and nutritional value of dishes. The right approach to slicing, using a sharp knife and being careful when working with this delicate fruit, will help preserve all its beneficial properties and make your dishes more appetizing and nutritious. Mistake 9. Ignoring seasonality is a mistake that is often underestimated, but can significantly affect the flavor, quality, and even nutritional value of tomatoes. Tomatoes, like many other fruits and vegetables, have a pronounced seasonality. Depending on the region, the peak of their ripening usually occurs during the summer months. It is during this period that they reach their highest concentration of flavor and nutrients such as lycopene, vitamin C, and potassium. When we buy tomatoes outside of their natural season, we often find that they are greenhouse-grown or imported from other countries. These tomatoes are often picked while still green and ripen during transportation. This causes them to miss the sweetness, flavor, and concentration of nutrients that naturally develop when ripening in the sun. Studies show that tomatoes grown in season and outdoors contain twice as much lycopene, a powerful antioxidant that reduces the risk of cardiovascular disease and some cancers. Out of season, the content of this substance can be much lower. In addition, buying tomatoes out of season is often more expensive because these tomatoes require additional growing, transportation, and storage costs. This makes them less cost-effective and, more importantly, less beneficial to your health. Seasonal tomatoes, on the other hand, grow naturally in the sunshine and are packed with all the nutrients they need. They have a rich, sweet flavor, rich texture, and bright aroma. Their use in cooking not only improves the flavor of dishes, but also makes them healthier. Thus, ignoring the seasonality of tomatoes can lead you to get less nutritious and flavorful fruits, spend more money, and possibly be disappointed in their taste. Therefore, try to choose tomatoes that are ripe in their natural season to enjoy all their health and flavor. Mistake 10. Incorrectly combining with other ingredients is a mistake that can significantly affect the flavor profile and benefits of tomatoes in a dish. Tomatoes are not just a vegetable, but a key ingredient that can radically change the flavor and texture of a dish. However, their complex flavor requires a special approach to combining them with other foods. Tomatoes contain natural acids, such as citric and malic acids, which give them their characteristic sour flavor. These acids can react with other ingredients to change both the flavor and texture of a dish. For example, if you add tomatoes to dishes with dairy products such as cheese or sour cream, you need to consider that their sourness can curdle the milk or change the texture of the sauce. Studies show that combining tomatoes with the right fats, such as olive oil, promotes better absorption of fat-soluble vitamins and antioxidants, such as lycopene. Lycopene, which gives tomatoes their red color, is a powerful antioxidant that reduces the risk of cardiovascular disease and certain cancers. Olive oil not only enhances the absorption of lycopene, but also adds richness and depth of flavor to the dish. However, combining tomatoes with acidic ingredients such as lemon juice or vinegar can make them taste overly acidic, which will upset the balance of the dish. On the other hand, using sugar or sweet ingredients can soften the sourness and emphasize the tomato's natural sweetness. It's important to keep in mind that spices also play a big role in bringing out the tomato's flavors. For example, basil and oregano perfectly complement their flavor, creating a harmonious combination that has become a classic of Italian cuisine. In addition, tomatoes are rich in glutamate, a natural flavor enhancer that can intensify the flavor of other ingredients. This makes them ideal for dishes where a rich, umami flavor is desired, such as pasta sauces or stews. However, adding too many strong spices or hot sauces can overwhelm the delicate flavor of tomatoes, making the dish monotonous and losing its unique character. Thus, improperly combining tomatoes with other ingredients can rob you of all those wonderful flavor and nutritional benefits. Choose your combinations consciously, and you can create dishes that maximize the potential of this amazing fruit. What do you think about this? Do you agree with these statements? If there are any questions, ask them in the comments. More information on this topic can be found at the links in the description below this video and on our channel.
Subscribe and hit the bell for all notifications. Please like and share this video with your friends. Thanks to our sponsors for their support. I eagerly await your comments and encourage you to watch these useful videos.